This time on Graveyard Cars, Mark and the team check out a legendary Daytona. But will it be too far gone to save?
Where's the rest of the car?
The Cook's 1970 Barracuda is racing for the finish line.
That ain't right.
And Mark's original equipment loyalty is tested when the dailies want to install an aftermarket suspension from Magnum Force.
These aren't factory?
You can't drive, so you had to change all the suspensions so you could drive this car. Is that it?
No.
On this episode of Graveyard Cars.
Got that car coming to get you, Barbara.
The unburied dead are coming back to life.
I'm Mark Warman, and together with the most critical man in the world, Darren Kirkpatrick.
Give me a gun!
My son-in-law, Josh.
Oh, yeah!
And my best friend, Roy.
Well, all right!
We bring dead muscle cars back to life, to exactly the way they were on the day they were born. If we don't kill each other.
It's gonna be a bloodbath.
Now that we have the body and paint work completely finished on the Cook's Barracuda, we can start working on assembling, installing the power brake booster, the relay mechanism for the brakes, the disc brake proportioning valve. We've got the windshield washer reservoir, the windshield wiper, all of the things that go on the firewall, the clips, fasteners, and retainers. Just much easier right now to do before we install engine and transmission. We're moving along pretty good on the little Barracuda. I'm kind of jumping in between it and other things. Just finished putting the power brake booster, master cylinder, disc brake proportioning valve, and the front brake line set in. Royal's buttoning up a couple things underneath the dash. When I get back in here, I'll be able to put some other pieces on it, such as the wiper transmission, the windshield washer reservoir, the horns, some of the other things. After that, we're ready to set the car down around the drivetrain. Hi, this is Mark. Yeah. Hey, how you doing? I remember. Oh, that'll work. Got a call the other day from a guy up out of Portland. I knew he had bought this car. There's a urban legend that went around for years about the Daytona that met its fate getting pushed off of a cliff into a ravine and left down in a rock quarry. Well, this is the car. It was in Newfoundland, Canada, I believe. This gentleman that contacted me actually bought the car, or what's left of it. I have not seen any pictures. I just know that it was in dire straits and there wasn't much left of it. At least with our 71 Phantom Cuda, there was a basic car and a shell, and you had your fender tag and your dash VIN, so you could finish building the car out. This one, I'm told, is pretty rough. The truth is, it was an original 69 Daytona car. It was an XX29 car. It was a 440 automatic. It was T7 copper, which is unusual, with a black bumblebee and black guts. So it's a neat color combination. It's a Daytona, I mean, what can you say? But there has to be enough there to start with. And I'm excited to see what's coming down. I'm very excited, if we can save it, to put a deal together, because this probably would be the worst car we've ever done on Graveyard Cars. How's it going, John?
Good, how about you?
Thanks for coming down.
Yeah, that's my wife, Jen.
Jen, nice to meet you. So John showed up today with his wife, Jen, and the Daytona Charger. A year ago, after he got the car, he had contacted me. He actually stopped by the shop to say hi. He didn't have any photos of it at the time. I told him that if you got to a point, I mean, like I say, he described it as pretty bad. And so when the owner describes it as pretty bad, it probably is.
I'm all excited because John's bringing in his Daytona Charger. It was actually pushed off a cliff way back when. You know, the car may or may not be restorable. I'll be the judge of that.
I haven't seen anything. I know the way you described it to me, so I don't have huge aspirations. So I want you to know I'm on your side in this thing. That,
right.
You know, you've seen our Phantom Cuda.
Yep.
You know my mentality, unlike his, the naysayer. Mine is to save every one of these cars that can be saved. Mm-hmm. That's my goal, my objective. And the only restraints that I have, that I put upon myself, are just the moral ones, is, are we able to save enough of it to still call it that car? So with that, feel free to show me what you got.
Sure.
Okay.
When John got here and met the crew and everything, I was all excited to see what was actually in the trailer.
Royal, over here.
Well, Darren, looks like your car.
When John opened the back end of the trailer, I wondered where the rest of the car was. Where's the restorable portion of the car at?
Okay, what are we looking at then?
This is the remains of a '69 Daytona Charger.
So, you know, seeing the back door drop down and knowing that, you know, there's just a lot of parts in there, that didn't really make me gasp. My job is to stay in composure and first and foremost assess if we're even talking about a Daytona Charger or what somebody hopes was a Daytona Charger. So I need to look for all the different things, and that's what I'm doing. Air baffles that were unique to the nose cone for the NASCAR 69. This held the original baffles in place. These were rivets. I would expect to see some remnants of it being an original Daytona, and that's good to see that, as well as these that held the lower splash shield in. Look for the rivets or remnants that the nose cone was on whatever components are left. Look for whatever components are left. Was there a real live Daytona stripe on it? What color was it? Look at the floor and see if the fender tag's saying it was an automatic and it's got a hole punched in it. Was it, you know, did somebody punch a hole in it, or did it start life as a 4-speed? Is there T5 copper, the paint code, underneath all the layers of people's dreams of what they thought would look good?
The Charger spent a hard life in Newfoundland, Canada. It was abandoned in about '77 in a rock quarry with about a dozen other cars. In the early '80s, the town where they abandoned the cars decided that they needed to build a dam to help with flooding in the downtown area. Where they wanted to build the dam was where all these cars were abandoned in the quarry. So when the work crew showed up with the trucks and the bulldozers to build the dam, they took all the cars and just pushed them off of the ravine to get them out of the way. And I stumbled across an old posting about a Daytona Charger that was pushed off a ravine. And I thumbed through the post for, you know, an hour or so. And the guy's final post was he was wanting to sell the car, but not sure what to do with it or what to ask for it. So I just sent him a random email, you know, on a 2-year-old post, and he responded. And I've always been a Charger fan, always been a Charger fan. My dad got 2 Chargers when I was a kid, and I ended up getting one of the Chargers. And I always wanted to make that one a Daytona. You know, I like the stripe, I like the wing, I like the nose.
That's the original door?
Yes, original passenger door.
And I assume that's the original right-hand rocker and B-pillar setup?
Yes.
You know, it's cool that John has what he does for the car. I mean, he has the dash vent, even though it's kind of problematic when somebody cuts the dash vent out of a dash skeleton. But the good news is he brought the dash skeleton down that he cut it out of, and it fit in there perfectly. So I do know it started on that, and the rust and the decay of the dash itself matched the rest of the car. So I believe very much that it started that way. We are ready to put everything in.
Mark needs weight washing.
I can do anything.
If it's gonna make it drive better.
Well, you
Royal and I installed components underneath the hood of the 70 Barracuda convertible. We also got to check out 1969 Charger Daytona. That may be the most wreck hard GYC has ever considered taking on. Also, from Magnum Force, Ron is coming out to help us install the brand new front suspension in the 1970 Plymouth Cuda. If the VIN don't fit, you must have quit. Oh, Johnny Cochran there. The tag is amazing. It was in such good shape, but it makes sense when I hear the story that it was actually taken off years ago. But it was in such nice shape, it almost looked like a replica. It wasn't until I turned it over and could see the original patina and the surface rust, and the fact that those cars, when they painted underneath them, they used to take one screw out and they would fold the tag up and they would fold it back down again. That crease across the corner was there. So it's definitely an original fender tag and in amazing shape. I've got cars that the cars are in a lot better shape and the fender tags are barely readable. So this is the opposite.
Yes, and then
oh, look at that.
remaining quarter panel.
Wow. The real cool part of this backstory is very much the mystery feel behind it. Here's a car that was forgotten about. The previous owner to John actually backtracked it to the guy who had the car when it got parked, the guy who abandoned it. He had pulled the engine out. He had the fortitude, the knowledge, or something to pull the engine out and set it in his garage. And 30 years later, they now have the numbers matching original engine to a car that there's not much of a car left. Same guy did some backtracking, did some what I call Mark Worman sleuthing, okay? He went back and found the guy who had the original sales invoice, the original paperwork that showed how much the guy paid for it if he took in a trade, what the car was optioned with, what options it had over a standard Daytona. That's really big stuff. We have cars that are original Survivor cars that don't have that.
All I see is a bunch of pieces. You can see the trailer, just a bunch of charger pieces. The thing's been painted 7 or 8 times. Look like there's pieces of 4 or 5 different cars in there. I just think he took the wrong exit and was supposed to go to the scrapyard.
The decision needs to be made on this. Do we build it, or does he start hanging parts on his wall and saying, here's what's left of a Daytona?
Well, and again, most things can be restored. This car could be restored. Whether it's feasible or not to restore this car, that's another question. Is there anything really to start with? That's, I think, the bottom line here. What do you start with on this car? There's really no rails, no infrastructure, no core support, no cowl, no nothing. Sure, the car would be beautiful done.
Well, in my mind, yes, I believe it's restorable. You know, there's naysayers that say that it's not, and I'm okay with that, you know, but the way I see it, it is a Daytona. You know, it should be brought back if it can.
The good news is, I agree 100% across the board that this car started life as a real one of the 503 Daytona Chargers. So congratulations on having a really cool car. I love this original tag. No arguing with that. Just, it is what it is. So if, I know you've been on it, sitting on it for a while and like to have some kind of a idea where to go from here. So if you wouldn't mind maybe giving me a week or so to kind of think things out. We're real busy right now, but if I can
yeah.
think it out, figure out, I know what list of parts that you have to go with it, so that's going to be a real helping factor. I'm going to thank you very much for coming down.
Yeah, definitely.
It's great to meet you, Jen. I'm going to have the 3 Musketeers start loading stuff up for you, and you can hit the road.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
I'm Ron Jenkins. I'm from Magnum Force Racing, and I came down to visit with the guys this week and do an install of one of our modular suspensions on a 70 Cuda.
You know, I've talked to Ron Jenkins. It's cool to have him come up and actually working on one of the cars. We've kept threatening back and forth to do it one day, and with Mark and Elena wanting that type of a suspension in the Cuda, it was a perfect fit. Mark and Elena, they want to be able to go on power tours. They want to be able to go across country. They want to be able to go out and do some autocrossing and hang in some corners. So this suspension is perfect for that. The unit that we're going with him is called the Transformer Modular Unit. And it's called a modular unit because you can do as little or as much. Like the K-member that we're putting in today, his new K-member has a rack and pinion, power rack and pinion. The steering goes in front of the K-member instead of back behind it like the original ones do. We're getting ready to put that suspension underneath the car, and I think we're gonna have a really fun day. Ron brought all this stuff up from his place in California. We're gonna install the K-member. Not everything that's here is gonna go in the car.
Thank goodness.
The spindles, they'll lower the car a little bit, you had mentioned.
2 inches.
They're a 2-inch drop in the spindles. So I'm looking at this stuff and I can see that the ball joint's set backwards. I can see that it's fully adjustable.
The inherent characteristics of the suspension with its side scrub, camber change, and bump steer have all been addressed with this.
I've put these cars together and I thought that an old worn out Camaro drove better than a brand new restored Mopar. I mean, that's sad.
You can't drive, so you had to change all the suspensions so you could drive this car, keep it on the road, basically. Is that it?
No.
No, he's trying to make
making it more
car
pleasurable.
better.
So you say Walter Chrysler did it wrong?
But yeah, now that the ball joints move back a little bit, that'll give us our positive caster that we need.
Right.
Yeah, he wanted this from the time he bought the car the first time. He wanted to do something like this. So
If it's gonna make it drive better,
it's going to drive nice.
I've always liked mixing old school and new school stuff together. You gotta appreciate the old to appreciate now the new, you know, so to see how far it's all evolved.
Okay, so with those in right now, we're ready to put the K-member, right?
Exactly. So it's just easier when it's out of the car like this.
Oh yeah, we got her. Look at these two muscle men.
Grabbable.
I could have done it myself. What are those?
These are the main K-member bolts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
There's a little difference. These are brand new for Mr. Mopars, my OEM ones. These are, look at the little in on there for National. Isn't that awesome?
Well, that is nice.
Isn't that pretty? That is nice.
These aren't factory?
So these got the shoulders, is that what you mean?
They do have a shoulder. Yeah.
All right. So do we use these?
Happy now?
I'm pretty happy.
Okay.
I'm happier. The 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona had some unique features: an aerodynamic nose cone, simulated fender scoops, and a very tall, vertical rear spoiler. True or false? That rear spoiler was just for looks. The answer coming up after the break. So, was the rear spoiler on the 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona just for looks? The answer is false. It was fully functional. The upper wing, which ran side to side, had an Allen head bolt on each side which allowed you to adjust it. That particular shape of that upper wing was like an airplane wing turned upside down, so instead of lifting, it would push down. There were 2 brackets mounted inside the trunk that spanned the gap between the trunk floor and the quarter panel, so when at a high speed, if that spoiler was pushing down, you wouldn't cave your quarter panels in. That wing was fully functional. Visit graveyardcars.com to learn more. From Magnum Force, Ron is coming out to help us install the brand new front suspension in the Daly's 1970 Plymouth Cuda. This is a great time for me to start looking at the pictures of the destroyed Charger Daytona, or at least what's left of it. Your little Nancy's okay there? You need me to give you a hand there? You all right?
You know, I thought at GYC we did factory restorations. We brought the cars back from the dead, restored them exactly like the day they were made at the factory. But it seems as time goes on, we keep deviating from the OEM and going to the aftermarket. Just like with the Magnum Force front end, now they want to put a Magnum Force front end under marketing lane of 7383 Cuda. You're changing everything again.
I'm not changing anything. This is the customer's request. We're putting in
the engine from above. You used to put it in from below.
I know how we used to put it in. I was putting it in while you were... All you're trying to do is wind me up.
No, I thought you were an OEM guy.
I am an OEM guy, okay? I'm going to put the engine down through the top. It doesn't matter. You know what? I don't take anything Darren has to say seriously, because Darren's like the wind. He blows a different direction every day. He just did this about a year ago. He goes, why don't you make one of those power touring cars? I said, because I'm OEM. I don't want to do a power tour car. And he said, oh yeah, you're just afraid to branch out. You're afraid of anything new, blah, blah, blah. Now we're actually putting one of these type of suspensions in a car, and he says, why are you butchering it? Have you sold out? Like, I've sold out. Who do I sell out to? I own it all.
So what's interesting about the coilovers is that you now have a captive shock absorber and spring assembly to support the weight of the car rather than the torsion bar.
The way this system is designed with the coilover shocks, I think is the coilover shocks are always a better system for handling, stability. Torsion bars are just kind of sloppy and lazy, slow reacting. So this will make the car handle so much better.
There you go. Beautiful. Wow. Look at that. Man.
So we got the K-member installed and moved on to the coilovers and got them installed next. Pretty easy process there. And moved on to the spindles. And then shortly thereafter, we were on to the brakes.
You know, it's all wrapped up. We've got the front and the rear suspension in. It's a cool setup. I mean, I could dig where if you were going to really cruise a car across the country, this could be a really neat addition. Again, not my OEM thing, but at the same time, there's other things that we stray from time to time. We make our paint better than OEM. We're willing to do that there. It's kind of fun to be able to do that here.
The installation of the Magnum Force brand was pretty simple. But what I think now is the car actually sits too low. Nobody wanted to listen to me that this car is going to sit way too low to drive around the streets of Oregon.
Well, it was great of Mark to invite me down to hang out with everybody here and do this install. And when we got done, we set the car down on the ground, and of course, that's the coup de grace, without a doubt. It's always fun to see what your handiwork looks like when it's down sitting on all fours. Always a good thing.
John and Jen left a little while ago, headed up to Portland. This is my opportunity to go through the pictures that I have, maybe even a little bit of Googling because the car has been talked about, and try to make, you know, a good conscious decision as to whether or not we should take the project on. I mean, I legitimately am considering it, okay, but I am worried. If at the end of the day, the Mopar community looks at it and says, well, that's not the original Daytona, that's a rebody. Well, I've never done that in my entire life, and I don't plan on starting now.
Everyone has a different idea what actually a rebody is. What I believe a rebody is taking numbers out of a desirable car that's in very poor condition, taking those numbers and putting them into a car or another shell that is in very good condition. Therefore, getting a new car for some piece of rubbish that should have never been fixed. That's what people do. I've seen it done. They've actually taken numbers out of a car, put it in another car, and then passed that car off as an original or a restored car. And that's totally wrong. Graveyard cars, we don't rebody cars.
I can take this opportunity to search through the photos, refresh my mind as to what all I have, what I can potentially save. That's the ultimate question is, have you now saved enough to call it the original car? Looking at what's out in the sunlight here, I can see that the lower cross member for the radiator support, while it is kind of twisted up, it may be something that we could dissect away from the frame rail, straighten it out, dip it, have it clean, put the epoxy on it, and maybe possibly be able to save that part. Here's the right-hand door that came off of the car. That poor old thing is in bad shape. Now, this being the original door, I can tell it's got the T5 copper all over it here, even though the car has multiple areas that you can see that it's a repaint. This black right here is the black, this area through here that you see that the factory did, and that was the trim color. This car is coated for a black interior, so this stuff would be normally painted like that, so I feel very comfortable in knowing that that is the original door. Or there's the other side of the door. When I looked at this door, I felt like the door lock cylinder probably could be saved, which is this piece right here. The door skin, the outer skin, is completely gone. It's rotted completely in half. Even if you could take this section right here and straighten it out, you could never weld to it. It'll just burn right through. There's no integrity left in that metal whatsoever. They are designed to withstand a certain amount of side impact. So if it's a potato chip, that's not gonna withstand much. I don't like the idea of putting something like that out on the road. Let's get over and take a look at the front inner structure. There's a section of the firewall that could be used. It could be grafted into another one. It did have some density to it where I feel after it was cleaned, we probably could use some of it. Then you gotta ask the question, if all you're gonna use is a 2" by 2", probably you're really not saving that much metal. It's reminding me an awful lot of the Phantom Cuda, but honestly, this is even considerably worse condition than the Phantom Cuda. There's no doubt about that. The Phantom Cuda was a much better project than this one when we started. The car had its basic integrity. I mean, it had rust in the floors, but the rest of the panels were solid. The inner structure, the rockers, the roof inner structure, the Dutchman panel, even though it was bent up, was solid. So it was a much more possible to see the end result when you're just sitting there looking at it than just a pile of rubble. Again, one of the things that makes me wonder about this thing is we got that poor thing hanging out there in the rafters and has been for 2 years. So where I'm at right now is I have my refreshed looks at each and every one of the components and how much of it I can save. I need to do the math on that. I need to talk with the owner of the car about it. And then I want to talk to everybody that knows anything about Daytonas. So that's it. I'll be the first to know and you'll be the second. What I do. Now's the time for the Cuda. I think it's the Cuda's turn at bat.
You just want to save any more Mopars, I guess.
I'm gonna kick your face inside your head. That's the tragedy. Hey, where were all these at? All of Kimberly's stuff at.
Everything should be there. I know this is probably a bad time for you, but I need to get that card so I can get that computer ordered. I need this card so that I can order a computer so that I can get linked up to Mr. Mopart's site and be in cahoots with them so I can start getting all my parts and everything organized. I might be fibbing just a little bit. Card? I've got some video gaming that I'm gonna be doing, and you know, the less that Mark knows about it, the better.
You having a good time?
Dude, this is awesome. Come on, man.
Oh, peekaboo.
God dang it, man. Card?
Hang on.
Card?
Hang on. My mom's a lot more important than you are.
Oh my God, you always yell
I never talked to her.
I'm ordering a computer.
The one we talked about, so you
Yes.
can order parts from Moparts and
Absolutely.
get it online, and you're... Okay.
Absolutely.
Giving Josh my card to be able to buy the equipment that he believes is necessary for him to be able to do his job and for us to grow as a company, it's a big step for both of us. It's a big step in him having the confidence to do the right thing and me having the confidence in him to do the right thing.
Don't get me wrong, I'm still gonna be doing my job, but in the meantime, there's a lot of cool games out, and I can't wait to start playing.
Mel and Head and I got an opportunity to work under the hood of the 1970 Plymouth Barracuda convertible. We also installed the front suspension under the Daly's 1970 Plymouth Cuda, as well as checked out the legendary 1969 Charger Daytona from Newfoundland, Canada. While Long Turd had apparently vanished into thin air, Larry was installing the convertible top. That gave us a chance to button up a few things on the car ourselves.
What's up, buddy?
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm doing.
Long day?
Yeah.
Cool.
So Dan and I have been friends ever since we both started working here. So I just got done talking to Mark, and I got the approval to order a laptop.
So what are you gonna be doing with it?
Mark would really like for me to use it for ordering parts, but honestly, I'm gonna be using it for gaming. Like, that's the God honest truth.
It's a little surprising that Mark gave Josh permission to get this really high-end gaming laptop. It's probably a little overkill for what Mark's needing for work to do out in the shop. Jump online there.
You know, with Dan's knowledge and my gaming expertise, Dan pretty much paved the way for me to help order something that's gonna suit Mark's needs and then something that's gonna suit my gaming needs. So it's a win-win.
Basically, we've got everything done now that we can do inside the assembly room, so we're moving it out to the shop where we have a nice open area. Larry's getting ready to install the new Legendary top on it, or the V3X, if you will. After that, we can start putting the rest of the car together.
Hi, I'm Larry Fortner, and I have Larry's Interior, and I do like doing the original work for the graveyard cars, and I really dig doing that because I love original work in these cars.
While Larry is installing the convertible top on the Barracuda, we're going to do some small things. We still have side markers to put in, underbody fuel lines, the fuel line clips, clamps, the small pieces that need to be buttoned up before we can actually get the car running and driving. Where's Josh? I'd love to know where Josh is. Where's Waldo? Josh disappears on a daily basis for 10 to 15 minutes at a time.
And you want a laptop, right?
Yes.
Yep. I mean, did he say, like, did he give you a price limit?
No.
Okay. Why don't you click on that bad boy right there?
This guy right
Yeah.
here. This is like the comparison of a 426 4-speed Hemi, if it were a computer, right?
Sure. We speak two
Well,
different languages.
Yes, we do.
That's all right.
You know, I was kind of using my lingo whenever it comes to Mopar, and then, you know, trying to mix that in with Dan's lingo whenever it comes into, you know, the processor speed or the gigabytes of storage, the RAM, all that kind of stuff.
The dual graphics card is nice because it won't tap out just one card. Whatever the application is, it'll use whatever video card is necessary for that application.
So it's like going through a drag race and you've got a 426 Hemi, you know, and you're ready to race. But then, you know, after the race and you've kicked everybody's ass and everything, it just goes back to a basic 318 gas saver and...
Sure, yeah. Could say that. Got any questions? Let me know. Up top for gaming. Nerd power.
Nerd power!
On a convertible top, but you got to put your pads on first, and you got to staple it before you do that to set it all up before you can even put the top or the hard glass on.
I have no idea where Josh disappeared to, okay? Or the amazing David Crapperfield, I like to call him, or Pudini. But wherever he went, he's back now. He's working with Derek. They're installing the fuel tank sending unit, the pad, the clamps, and the brackets for the 1970 Plymouth Barracuda convertible.
I literally just talked to Mark. He put the card in my hand. He asked me what I was doing with the card. I informed him that I was going to be purchasing a laptop, not only to benefit the shop, but for my personal use as well.
I know where Josh was. I was just saying that in general, he pulls that disappearing act crap. So don't try to... responsibility. And of course, the legendary, inimitable Chrysler Pentastar, installed by yours truly.
A convertible top, you got to set the pads on it, you got to center it, you got to put the top, your window in first, and then put your top on next, and there's quite a process to that, and it takes quite a while.
Larry did a phenomenal job on the top, always does. This is the first convertible top he's done for us, so I was kind of anxious to see.
Even though I'm based in Oregon here, I've done 11 convertible tops this summer. They're a lot of work, but I enjoy doing them.
And it came out beautiful. It's tight, it fits like it's supposed to, everything's right. Legendary makes a great product, so it makes him look good installing it.
I like Legendary's work. I like the way they fit, I like the way they look when they're done. They look perfect.
Now that that's done, we can go on with putting the rest of the car together. If you had ordered a Chrysler muscle car from 1969 to 1971 and it was optioned with a 446 pack or a 446 barrel if it was a Plymouth, you would have been guaranteed one of these options: a Dana 60 rear axle, power disc brakes, power steering. The answer coming up after the break. So what option would you have received when you ordered your brand new 1969 to 1971 Chrysler muscle car with a 4-speed and a 446 pack or 446 barrel? The answer is the Dana 60. The Dana 60 rear axle package was mandatory on all 440 4-barrel, 446 pack, and 426 Hemi engine options. It came with 2 axle groups, an A33, which gave you 354 gears, or A34, which would have given you a 410 axle. Ironically, for a car that's as heavy as these were, power steering and power disc brakes were still an option. Visit graveyardcars.com to learn more. Things are going great at Graveyard Cars. We've got the convertible top on the Barracuda convertible, and after reviewing the pictures from John's wrecked Daytona Charger, I still can't make up my mind whether we should take the project on or not. I happen to have Tony D'Agostino on speed dial, and it's time to phone my old buddy.
Hello, Tony Smoke for Parts.
Tiny T?
Yes, sir.
What are you doing, buddy?
Living the dream here.
Living La Vida Loca. You are the dream. I've always told you that. You know, anybody that knows me knows I have a lot of respect for Tony D'Agostino. He's a smart guy. He's been doing this as long as I've been doing it. He's been doing parts. I've been doing the cars. I mean, I've been making dreams come true, and he's been selling parts. So I don't think I should get extra points for that. He's a knowledgeable guy. He's probably as knowledgeable as I am in some ways. We talk in alphanumeric codes that make no sense to the average human. These were used on a 1-year only. It was a 3/4. No, it didn't necessarily have to be a 3/4. It was a sport, wasn't it?
It was a Twister.
Oh.
It was like a 74 Duster Twister.
I mean, he has a real life OE gold class, best of the best in the world Daytona Charger. So he knows Daytonas, and he knows everybody that's in it. So looking for feedback, I'm going to call the T-Meister. So I got you those pictures fired off of that Daytona, and I told you I was give you a call and just kind of, I guess my first question is, did you get a chance to comb through all the photographs?
Yes.
Okay. You sound happy.
Like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
And you know, I've seen other projects that haven't been nearly this bad. And first thing I say to somebody, what's going to be left of the original car?
Right.
What do you really have that's going to be remaining? And honestly, all the documentation stuff, it's nice to have for a car, but I don't even know if I would really classify this as a car.
I mean, I already knew when I called Tony what his answer was going to be. He's pretty conservative for the most part. Our egos, like I said before, tell you, you can do anything. And, I can do anything, but in this particular case, it's not necessarily the right thing. And so that's the tragedy.
You know, talking about doing cars, this makes your Phantom Cuda look like a showroom driver. And you got that hanging in the rafters. You know, I'd love to see you do it, and I bet there's a ton of other people that'd love to see you do that car. It's in the background in a lot of your episodes.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to that car. That at least has the roof and the firewall and the inner structures and the quarters. I mean, it's the result of some rot and some damage, so.
The enthusiast in you makes you want it. Yeah, we could save another Daytona, but this, I think, unfortunately, this falls into the case of not being savable.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. I'm going to let you get back at it. I knew that's probably where you were at on it, but I'll let you know how the guy takes the bad news.
Okay, man. Keep him in line.
All right, bro. See ya.
See you. Bye.
I guess in some way I had a sense of false hope that maybe he had some kind of an input on it or had seen it done before where it was maybe less ugly and a little more accepted, but it's not. It is what it is. It is what I've always said it is. So Tony brought up the other part about the Phantom car, and we have had that car here. That's really what, that was the genesis of Graveyard Cars. That was the beginning. That's what spurred it on and got me motivated to show the world that, the car could be restored. And I feel bad for the guy because he's a really nice guy. But I'm going to have to let him down and let him know that it's not something I care to take on. But maybe I'll get on the horn with Mike and see if we can't fire up the thoughts in the process of how we could put the Phantom car together finally. So it's always a silver lining. That's what you got to look at. wrapping up the 1971 Cuda 446 barrel car.
He doesn't want to save any more Mopars, I guess.
Well, you brain dead son of I'm gonna kick your face. I feel really good about the decision on not taking the Daytona Charger on. Tony knows what he's talking about. I concur completely. Now that that's out of the way, we can get the Barracuda back on the restoration track. We need to put the motor, transmission, front and rear suspension in the car. I also need to get hold of Mike over at AMD and call in that favor he offered. Last year, Mike came out from AMD, Auto Metal Direct, wanted to see how we were doing, make sure that the panels that we're buying from him are right and that we had any complaints or if we had any input, which we do, because, I mean, you know, everything can be dialed in. During the visit, I took him out and I showed him our Phantom Cuda, our beautiful 71 446 barrel 4-speed, one of 108 Phantom Cudas. Got to talking about it, and he had made the offer if I ever needed any help or whatever parts we needed, just let him know. So, you know, I think now's the time for the Cuda. I think it's the Cuda's turn at bat. So I need to call Mike at AMD and say, are you willing to put your money where your mouth is? Let's bring this thing back to life. Your help would be invaluable. I'd rather do it sooner than later. And the owner would probably like to have it back before he passes away.
So today we're putting the K-member engine, front suspension, and rear end in Kimberly Cook's 1970 Barracuda.
We spent the last few days getting all the things plumbed out under the hood that are easy to get to while the engine and transmission aren't in there. There's still a couple more pieces, but they haven't shown up yet. So we are ready to put the engine and transmission, drivetrain, rear end, everything in. So we moved the car out to the bin pack. We're doing some last minute detailing on those items and getting ready to install them. We got to go that way, I can see right now.
Which way?
Hang on the back. It may be pretty close. Nope, about 6 inches out of way.
That was a foot.
And then all you're doing is making it crooked when you do that. So the front,
Where I'm
you hold
sitting,
that.
Man, it looks like, that looks,
Okay.
ooh, yeah, that's good.
Okay, head on down with it, D. How are we looking, ladies?
Okay, come on down, Darren.
What are you thinking about rebodying that Daytona from Canada?
I don't do rebodies, so you might want to just figure out if you just answered your own question.
I just wondered, he's had a little bit of time to ponder about the Daytona Charger we looked at a couple weeks ago, the one from Canada that was destroyed, pushed off a cliff, etc. So I just want to know what he thought about that. And basically, he doesn't want to put it together. You know, he thinks he's the master, the guru. Let's save that one.
I don't think I'm going to do it, buddy. I talked to Tony. He seems to agree that there's not enough of that car left to call it a Daytona, so all you'd be doing is a tribute car. Yeah, in the situation with the Daytona, it's simple. I've made the decision because it's my name on the sign. It's my name that's on the LLC. I'm the guy that's going to be held out there and crucified in the court of public opinion if I go ahead and take that car on and restore it. Even though my intentions are just to do a 69 Daytona tribute car, the world's going to say, oh yeah, that's what you say, but behind the scenes, you're going to put the VINs on it.
I think his car should be saved. You know, that's what he brags about, is saving these cars. He doesn't want to save any more Mopars, I guess.
If he wants, I'll build him a tribute car, but if he wants anything done with the VINs, he'll have to do that himself.
So you had to ask Tony to find out that?
I just wanted his opinion. I didn't have to ask him.
Okay, Darren.
If I didn't ask him, you'd have said, why didn't you ask Tony?
You didn't
Is
ask
that shop
me.
lining up over, okay, Derek?
Yeah, it's in.
Okay, I'm in too.
Well, this is actually a very important part of getting the car assembled. You know, it kind of boosts our morale. Once we get the engine, the whole entire drivetrain put in, everything else, I don't want to say it's a lot easier, but, you know, we're going to start to notice every little ounce of progress that we make.
You put the caliper mounts on, Josh?
Sure did.
Did you make sure the left's on the left and the right's on the right?
Sure did.
Nice. You can go ahead and go up. I think we can go ahead and put the rest of the stuff in this car.
You know, I thought that marrying the engine and transmission and K-member to the car actually went quite well. There's always going to be a little bit of trouble, just misalignments and stuff, just lining things back up to get it perfectly aligned for the four K-member bolts, transmission cross-member. No, not rocket science.
Oh, everybody's attitude was good. It was kind of a real kick-back and mellow day. Mark and Darren stayed pretty calm for the most part.
Oh, you're getting Ordu skin.
We talked about that before.
No, but that's messed up. That's like an alligator or something.
How many chickens got in a fight underneath your eyes?
You know what? This is from age. This is from sweat and blood, something you wouldn't know anything about.
Does it have your nose too?
Yeah, because I didn't have things given to me
face.
like you did.
Punch you in the face.
Did he tell you about his youth?
It's not true.
It was like
Go
the Taj
ahead.
Mahal out there.
That's okay. You can say
Anything
what you
went.
want.
Put your
Let it
visa
down.
away, Dad.
Let it down.
You don't stop that f***ing repeating yourself, I'm gonna kick your face inside your f***ing head. Repeating bastard, like a f***ing machine gun over here.
Well, putting the rear end in the car is pretty basic, especially if you got these stands. You can pre-assemble everything, slide it into place, bolt it in the car, then tighten up all your U-bolts, and everything's pretty straightforward that way.
Whenever all of us work together as a team, everything goes so smooth. You know, and joking around here and there, it's what we do. You know, playing grab ass with Darren, it's what I do. Punching Mark, that's what I want to do.
Good Lord, Mary.
Well, you
You're putting a nut on you, brain dead son of
You do it. You do it.
Just let it down.
Do it with your
There's
really,
enough on there.
really nice watch on. God forbid you scratch that thing.
I thought the rear end actually went quite well too. We had a few problems finding the necessary hardware, but I think it actually went very well today. I don't know what Josh is complaining about. See a picture of his pants?
God forbid you scratch that.
What kind of a man wears his pants like that?
We did get our job done. We got the engine, transmission, front suspension, rear suspension in it, so it can get lowered down. Once we get the wheels and the tires done next week, we can put those on, roll the car back around to the assembly room, and just finish up the interior, and we'll be ready for Tommy and Kimberly Cook's visit. We just finished wrapping up the 1971 Cuda 446 barrel car. This is the car that started it all at Graveyard Cars. This is the Phantom Cuda. It's a 446 barrel, 4-speed, one of 108 ever made. It's got a shaker hood, EV2 Tour Red with black guts. Really neat car. I am fully taking Mike up on his offer over at Auto Metal Direct to help us out because we are in such dire straits to get cars done. This is a real blessing that he stepped up and is helping us. Really, that's where we're at now, is we got to get it loaded up on the freight truck, and it's on its way to Georgia.
You know, GYC, we pretty much have a full plate of cars waiting to be restored. You know, mine's at the first of the list. And AMD wants to put all the sheet metal on the Phantom Cuda. I think it's a great idea. It'll be good for them and good for us both.
The Cuda really is the genesis of Graveyard Cars. The entire concept for the show came to me as a result of this car. I really ran out of time on it, that's the fact. So with Mike's offer, they'll be able to unite this car with brand new Auto Metal Direct sheet metal. They're gonna save as much as humanly possible. That was my caveat. I'll let you do it, but what we were gonna do is save the roof infrastructure, save the firewall, save the quarter infrastructure, save sections of the floor where possible. Same thing for the upper cowl panel. I do not want it replaced, I want it repaired. I do not want even the smell of rebody going on in this car. I want people to know that Graveyard Cars, and in this particular case, in conjunction with Auto Metal Direct, brought a car back that everybody else in the world scoffed at. Everybody else in the world thought it was garbage and it was going to get total and just wash off, or maybe rebodied. That we're bringing it back to life, that we're going to reignite the passion that happened in the late 60s and early 70s Chrysler muscle car. And this is one of the vessels we're going to use to do it with.
Next time on Graveyard Cars, Mark gets detailed. He checks the bodyman's work on the welding of the 67 Hemi GTX convertible for Brett Torino.
Whoever wore my hat last is a mutant.
As well as starting the first tint on matching the burnt orange paint on the 70 Hemi Charger. And in the midst of the other car work happening on the Barracuda, Mark gets a request from a longtime customer to get a non-Mopar car done in time for a wedding. Can Derek and the crew get the Chevy Coupe done in time for the big reveal? Find out on the next episode of Graveyard Cars.